next slide. Camouflage is an adaptation, right? So that's, I think, a really good example of an adaptation. What I like about it is because it's obvious the camouflage fits that particular environment, which is true of all adaptations. So here what you see, can you see the animal that's in this picture? Yeah, it's a fish, right? This particular kind of fish is adapted to survive amongst these corals with it. And, it can't be seen. This is one that can have two advantages. One, it might not be seen by a bigger predator to get eaten, but it also can't be seen by its prey, so it can catch its food. So the camouflage can work both for the predator and for the prey. Okay, so make sure you have that written down. Camouflage is an adaptation. That's an example that I'd like to use. And so let's go through some slideshow. I want you to pay attention to each slide. I considered having you have to write down each animal you see in the slide as a list. I'm going to skip that. I will tell you that so you don't have to write them down, but pay attention because at the end, I'm going to have some questions, say which of these was in the slides and which of them weren't. Okay, so I'm going to want you to show that you paid attention to it, but I'm not going to make you write them down. This is actually maybe a little more fun to do in the classroom, which where I could have some audience response, but oh well. Okay, so here we go. Can you see the organism in this picture? Boom. What is it? That's right, it's a jaguar. So you see it? It's camouflaged there, so its prey can't see it. How about this one? Boom. Can you see it? Now this one might be the hardest of the bunch to see. This is one where I've had kids go, I don't see it, I don't see it. I've done this in the classroom. It's an iguana. It's a kind of a lizard. And right here's the head, and here's the body and the tail. Now part of it is hit behind this rock, the leg. There's the hind leg, front leg. So an iguana is right there in plain sight, and you can't even see it. That's how well adapted it is to that environment. You can imagine if it was on a grassy field, you'd probably be able to see it right away. It's camouflaged in that environment. It's adapted to that environment. Okay, here's another one. What's the animal? Say it quick. That's right. It's a frog, right? So it blends in, and they have the eyes that poke up over the water so it can see without its whole body being seen. Okay, let's move along some more examples. How about this one? Okay, right. This is an Arctic fox. What's kind of cool about the Arctic fox is in the wintertime, its fur turns white, and in the springtime, its fur turns dark. I actually thinking about it now, I probably should have got a picture of the Arctic fox in the summertime, and it matches with the tundra when there's no snow. So it actually changes color over the course of a year. Now here's something. It's a type of camouflage that we've already talked about called mimicry, right? So that is a praying mantis or a type of leaf bug, it's sometimes called. So little things to keep from getting eaten by birds or being seen by its prey. Can you see what animal's in there? That's an elephant. So even the elephant is camouflaged in its own sort of way, right? And then here's what's that? Wait, can you see it? It's a frog. Now, technically, mimicry, when it's used to not be seen, is a form of camouflage. So here's an example here of one the camouflage is so good, you might even call it mimicry, right? Where it sort of blends in with the leaf litter. Again, imagine in a different environment, you might be able to see that frog real easy. So it's adapted to that environment. That's the key thing. And here's another mimic. What's that thing called? Can you see it? It's a walking stick. See, there's the animal, there's the bug, and there's the stick. Walking sticks, okay? And so some of the interesting examples, let me go ahead and show you this one here. This is a flounder, right? Flounders are pretty fascinating animals. They match in, you see how it has the two eyes on one side of its head? This is a crazy animal. Biologists, a couple, 100 years ago or more, I don't know exactly how many years ago this was, but they were like, well, where are the baby flounders? And there were these little hatchlings. They had the eyes on either side of their head. What happens is they reach maturity, an eye actually wanders to be over on one side of the head, so they're lying on their side on the ground, not ground, it's the bottom of the ocean, right? The sandy bottom or the rocky bottom or gravelly bottom. and their coloration matches, so they're very well camouflaged that way. But they're actually, he's lying on his side, right? And so that's a flounder. Some are adapted to be camouflaged, like this turtle here. This is more for the prey as an ambush predator than it is for the sake of not being seen by a predator. I'm going to skip forward to the flounder again. This one here, I just got to mention, this is a pretty cool thing. The flounder, can you see them? This is actually, these particular photographs were taken in an aquarium, right? And, they had the flounder in the aquarium, and they had this sort of gravelly, sandy bottom, and this is what it looks like. And it blends in. There's its mouth, its eyes here. It's really hard to see, isn't it? Yeah. Now this here is not only the same type of fish, it's the same exact fish. This is the same flounder that they put in a different aquarium, and over a period of several hours, its coloration actually changed to match. And that's an amazing thing. They have these cells, these pigment cells that can grow and shrink. It isn't consciously done, but the input, they've covered their eyes and they don't change color. So they know that there's some sort of input into their brain of what the surroundings look like that will make the pigment cells grow and shrink to change color. And it can happen in just a few hours. And so it's the same exact fish. Can you see here? It's like the same spot matches that spot. And these two spots here match those two spots. So those spots along the back. So pretty amazing with camouflage. Okay, so the idea here then is that camouflage is a type of adaptation to help it survive. The better it can match with its surroundings, the more likely it is to survive long enough to reproduce and pass that coloration on to the next generation. So the next generation is also going to match that environment, and it might even match it better. And the ones that don't match the environment are not going to be able to reproduce because they're going to get eaten, right? And so the ones that don't match, they're not going to survive.